Missing home, missing the things that you call upon. Setting sun.
Just 2 minutes. 2 minutes to help your body move. There you go. There you go. Okay.
Even if things all fall through the cracks again. 'Cause I've been losing sleep.
Everything hurts so bad. Excruciating pain. The brain is physically in so much pain. The nerves from my back of my head, through my neck, through my back.
That's long gone.
Welcome to the Face of Malpractice. I am your host, Melissa. For those of you tuning in for the first time, this channel is dedicated to featuring interviews with fellow psych, drug, and medical harmed warriors. It is not just my story to tell. This platform is meant to create space for others to share their truths, so please be sure to follow the channel for monthly stories. Today we will be interviewing Sarah Troube. Sarah, did I say your name correctly, the last name?
Truebe, boom.
Awesome. We're almost there. So awesome. So Sarah is a former medical and manual massage therapist who once dedicated her career to helping others heal. In August 2023, her life changed when a stroke brought on by medical unethical practices of gaslighting, abuse, neglect, and corruption left her with paralysis on her dominant side. She was later diagnosed with Functional Neurological Disorder, FND, a rare PTSD-related condition that disrupts how the brain and body communicate. Despite living with chronic pain, neurological symptoms, and no known cure, Sarah remains determined to share her story, raise awareness, and advocate for others with FND, bringing hope and understanding to a widely misunderstood condition. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. Yeah, great. So I know you shared a lot of information with me about your medical journey, your journey, and so I think a really good place to just begin for the audience to hear is like, if you could just give us a synopsis from the young age to closer to where you are today, what was your medical journey look like, and what are the pieces that kind of led you to one another?
Oh my goodness, it's so long.
Yeah.
Okay, back in, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, you know where we could begin? How about in school? I know you shared some information about being in school and your teacher labeling you. Like, why don't we start there?
Yeah, okay. So about 30 years ago is when most of these schools started getting involved with diagnosing and labeling you with ADHD and then segregating these poor students, following behind. And unfortunately, I was one of them. But luckily, my mom was a psychology major and a teacher as well. So she wasn't real. She was like, I don't know, you're just a typical kid. But we'll try, like the natural alternatives first and then kind of go from there. And I really had to grow up really, really fast because of this, because I had to communicate with my mom, this and that and other doesn't work. So little did we know that it literally took about 30 years, give or take, before I found out that I had a mutation that makes me very sensitive to medication. So yeah, I continued following behind in and out of different types of school settings, trying, testing and and then doing therapy and trying Adderall. And then,
And so just to confirm, so the school, you were first labeled depressed and then the school, or then you got a diagnosis of ADD and ADHD, and that's what led you to the
so ADD,
ADD.
ADHD, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the other kids, it was that era.
It's still today, I think. I mean, most people are diagnosed with AD. It's just a way to make you feel broken, but we'll get
Yeah.
into that.
And it's not right.
No, it's not. It's child abuse, actually.
Yeah,
They
it
want to
is.
pathologize you at whose benefit, right? The system is trained by big pharma, and it's ultimately what pushes the agenda.
Yeah, and kids are not they're living, they're trying to figure out their own,
That's right.
you know, lives, and so we're too young to,
That's right.
be giving these dangerous, dangerous medications that can cause seizures, psychosis. I, and SI, I don't know if I can say that on here, but why put a kid through this stuff? So it wasn't until high school when I was like starting, this was 5 years later, my migraines kept progressing and progressing and progressing, very debilitating. I'm still falling asleep anywhere, all day long, and getting in trouble with, my teachers. And so I'm like, I want to, explore high school, college. I can't live like this. And so I made a deal with myself that after high school, I'm gonna get off all these medications. I was in high school, put on a regimen of 20 different medications and pills, and I'm like, I can't function like this. This is not okay.
Of course.
And so I got off a majority of them. I stayed on the seizure medication by that time because the Adderall my freshman year was apparently causing seizures, and my brain was on just fire from what I've been told.
Mm.
And so I stayed on something called triliptol. I was on the name brand. It was just coming out back in 1999, 2000, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
And so got kind of off of that a little bit, tapered, for, the remaining up until about 2028 or 2018 is when I was like, I still see psychosis, I still see seizures, no matter if I'm on the max dose or, Um, so it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so yeah, no, definitely. So it sounds like, so if I've understood, so first it started with being like misdiagnosed in school, like it led from your school to being misdiagnosed to be put on Adderall, and then you started having seizures, and then you were, it kind of just you just went down the
the
pharma
the big pharma rabbit hole of
devastation.
malarkey.
And so, okay, and then I know that you were then diagnosed with FND. Can you speak about that? Like, what led to that diagnosis?
Okay, um, in 2020, or probably I keep saying 2020, 2018,
Yeah.
um, that's when I started getting back into this wormhole of pharmaceutical. Uh, I'd been dealing with PTSD for probably about almost a decade, and I was in grief, and I was like, I didn't have my mom. Unfortunately, she had passed back in or 2009.
And was your
And
grief primarily from grieving your mom, or was it like, or
yeah,
like,
yeah.
was there PTSD from what you've experienced medically? Like, just so, is that a piece of the story, or is it specifically around grief with your mom?
Yeah, the PTSD didn't start until 2015. We had somebody attempt suicide that was close, to me, and that's when the PTSD started really happening. I've had PTSD from previous traumas, but I'm not going to really get into that
Yeah.
aspect of it, which is fine. Um, but I started, venturing, I need help, with the grief, the PTSD, trauma of it. And well, insurance, you have pre-existing issues that all was a factor as well. Getting insurance to cover me because I had, seizures and previous issues that I wanted to make sure I'm not having, that as well. But I got back on these when my mom passed away. And so I was on like Zoloft, and then I tried Lexapro based on family members,
Yeah. What are you
uh,
on? Okay, that sounds good. That's the conversation.
okay, let's try
Yeah.
this.
Yep.
Um, and well, the psychiatric hospital in 2018 was like, oh, you might be hypersensitive to these medications based on I would have interactions with other drugs like, antibiotics and opioid and even like cold medicine and other stuff. So
Wow.
uh and this is the same hospital that we just went down a rabbit hole of, mistrust. And now I have mistrust of the healthcare system, especially in the psychiatric aspect. Um, so
So just to confirm really quickly, this is when you got a confirmation that you had the MTHFR gene? Is that like,
yeah,
is
and
that
they
when?
were the ones that suggested that I go and get a genetic testing.
And so you found that out, and it's true that would make, I also have that gene, and that for me, my journey is a bit different. I know it was my brain injury that made my nervous system's too sensitive, which ultimately what led me on my journey of psych drugs. And I had a deregulated nervous system already. But yeah, you're right. Having that gene, like you would think that, and it's crazy you're saying how many years ago they did that test. Look where we are today. They're still not doing that test. They're still not doing like a pharmacogenetic testing. They're not doing this any level. And that's not always 100% like just because you either have that gene or just because the pharmacogenetic testing show like, oh, you're not sensitive. That doesn't mean someone's not going to be injured, but it's a step. And just that is still not being done, which is wild. So
It,
once you found that out, were you like, I got to get off this stuff? Or like, how did that play out?
yeah, I was like, okay, but I still felt like I still needed help, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
then I need to get dietitian and, other other ways of
Coping.
Yeah, coping skills, do this and that and the other, and it just like, and being a medical massage therapist, I'm more into the holistic.
Yeah.
So this is not really, I'd rather do the natural alternative medicine, not this stuff. So, in 2019, I was diagnosed with a septic uterus, and had to have corrective surgery on that, which can also cause grieving issues. So I was like, okay, I need to find a therapist to manage this. And then in that same year, I basically gave up, and was put in a psych ward, and they kept throwing. I literally saw about a different doctor every day. Nobody knew, um, you know, stuff about their patients. They were throwing Haldol and all these things. I was begging them to um, talk to my neurologist. Okay, you're, putting me back on trilipitol. Um, you need to talk to my neurologist and kind of keep them in the loop.
Yeah, that's
And I got excuses and excuses for that. And then they were like, well, you're drug resistant, because
you're drug resistant.
because you're sensitive to medication. You're
Wow. Keep
doing
making
me like
you
that.
sound broken. They
Yeah,
just keep making you sound broken because if you're broken, you're then compliant. And if you're
yeah,
compliant, right? Like
yeah.
it's the whole system, right? If we know it or not.
And back to the genetic testing, I'm wanting to fight this for better protocol. And like you said, that, yeah, it doesn't really, you know, I'm having trouble with my words today, which is a common thing because,
That's right.
um, so it gives me informed consent, you know,
Mm.
I think I say it's a triangular thing. You got the pharmaceutical,
Mm.
these are side effects, and which they don't do this anymore. They don't, here's a piece of paper, of all the side effects. That's another manipulation.
That's right.
And now that I've had genetic testing done not only once, but I'm now twice,
Mm-hmm.
confirms that this is a metabolic
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Of course.
It confirms this. So between the two, you are giving the patient the informed consent. Okay, this is the drugs that you can't take, and these are the ones that you can, and uh, which is very few. Um,
Almost none, you know?
Almost none. There's like maybe 3 medications that I feel remotely safe at this point to take. Um, I've been trying to, taper down on Cymbalta, which I'm highly allergic to. I'm still having migraines. So
And
it's
what
just
did you think the migraines, did you figure out what may be causing the migraines?
this the now this that I'm complaining about is new.
Mm.
This started back in 2023.
Okay.
I fell in 2023, day before July 4th. And so I had a concussion,
Mm.
And so my levels of, I was on Vraylar as well for the past 3, 4, 5 months, which I thought it was doing pretty well. I was on a microdose of it. Hence, I wasn't really paying attention to my genetic testing at the time. Forgot all about it by 2028, 2020.
No worries, 2023, right? No worries.
2018. And it was already 2023. So I'd kind of forgotten about it. Because if I was in good therapy, good psychiatrist would be like, reminding you, you've had a genetic test done, they would try to keep you, So in 2023, 2 months after I fell, I went into the psych hospital.
Mm.
They did not offer me my medication. They cold turkey me off of it. Did not offer blood pressure medication. Hell, I would have been like, give me some, melatonin and sleepy tea. I didn't care if it was sleepy tea.
Yeah.
My blood pressure was sky high, stroke high. The nurse there that spent about 45 minutes telling me, that they were going to discharge me and insurance is not going to pay because they're going to write me off as, against medical advice, and they weren't going to send me to the hospital and quit faking. And I'm in a psychosis spiral. Why would I, admit myself to a hospital, because the Vraylar, I think, and the concussion, the combination of those was making me spin.
Yeah, of course.
And
Of course.
so I think I just like walked away. I was like, I had no common sense at that point. To maybe just call the ambulance to come and get me and be like, this isn't working, And I kind of I couldn't really drive myself to the real hospital. I call them the real hospital and the fake hospital. So because it was, a lot closer, I had no concept of calling 911.
Yeah.
Hence why
You weren't there.
call. I was really deep in this psychosis, and so then there was a patient that was causing a scene, slamming the doors, and a day after that, she also slammed the medical door in front of my face. So that's why they are saying that I had conversion disorder at that time, not knowing that conversion disorder is outdated as of 2013.
And really quickly, what is conversion? What are you relating for? What is conversion disorder? Is that FND?
Yes, that used to be called, FND or whatever. They changed it to FND back in 2013 to so basically any trauma psychologically converts it into physical issues. But at the same time, now that I've, experienced this 2 years and exploring all this protracted withdrawal, that's where my light was like, ding, ding, ding. I think I'm getting misdiagnosed yet again. So, but I've gone through all this trauma, and I'm not saying, that I'm gonna abandon the FND or whatever they diagnosed me with. But I feel like I have both going on, FND and protracted withdrawal. So
I have to say, I see other people being, not, and I can't speak for your case, but I have seen other people be misdiagnosed with FND when it's like, tardive dyskinesia, or if it's, related to antipsychotics or protraction just in general from any psychiatric drug. It's actually, I see that, it's actually surprising how many doctors misdiagnose that. But it's just to see how the medical system, I mean, it's like once you enter the medical system, it's like we're treated like we're a garbage bin.
yeah,
You become property of the system, and then then your body, right? There's a somatic and physical reaction to all of it, and you're literally a manifestation of that. So, if I understood, just to take us back into the psych ward, the hospital there, the fake hospital, the girl slams the door, and I was confused about what happened here. So she slams the door, and then they blamed it on the FND, or like I'm confused.
they think it was conversion disorder but nothing
Oh, that's
happened.
when, did you have
Like,
a reaction? Is that when you went into the stroke, or was there a reaction?
no reaction, no instant reaction. Typically, conversion or FND, you typically have a PTSD reaction.
Hmm.
Mine did not start until probably hours or even the next day.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm like, ding, ding, ding,
Oh,
this
get it. And they just
withdrawal.
ripped you off of,
Yeah.
and this is the second time you're being ripped off, essentially, right? Which imprint after imprint, right? So,
Yeah. So I had Sunday, August 27th, 2023 at 4 o'clock. I'm starting to get the stroke, like, no tardive dyskinesia. Let me backtrack. When I was admitted, they stripped me off of the Vraylar and put me on Ziprazidone and doxepine within a 2-minute, consultation with a doctor that I, never seen, in 2 minutes.
oh my God.
And then the next following day, they pressured me to up my dose and laughed at me when I said, I am highly sensitive. I do not feel comfortable with this. I would like to do a micro dose of this medication,
Yeah.
not increase it. 2-minute visit. The doctor was already distracted with administrative
Rubbish. Yeah.
work on another patient and recording and talking to. So he wasn't all there. I was like, you know what, but I was over the night was like starting to have that seizure, chewing my tongue, waking up, dizzy, all the things. Because when I take medication, it acts fast, and or I get the other aspect where I can't get it out of my system, and even doctors are like, what? You sound crazy. I'm like, I'm toxic. So back to, and then that event happened and imprinted in my brain with the other patient. And then I started having this stroke stuff, and I'm like, something ain't right. And I went to the nurse, and, well, maybe you're having anxiety, and I'll give you some anxiety meds, which again, I'm highly sensitive to. Come back in 45 minutes, go for the scheduled outside time and get some fresh air and come back and see me in 45 minutes. Well, while I was outside, I don't know, I collapsed outside.
Wow.
And they rushed me to the ambulance. Ambulance took about 15 minutes to put an IV in me, which, I'm like, I'm having a stroke and you're taking this long to put an IV in me. We need to get going. Like,
My God.
so once I was there, thank God that I knew connections, contacted them. And then I was like dead, overwhelmed, adrenaline, all the things were starting to slowly cause me to go to sleep and and they did a CT scan and all these things. And so I don't really remember much of that because I started, sleeping and because all the adrenaline was just like depleted. And in the middle of the night or 2 o'clock, I think it was about 2 o'clock when I got transferred to another hospital due to the spikes in COVID at that hospital. So I got sent 3 hours away.
Oh, wow.
So my connections were not able to visit me and make sure that I got, the appropriate care. And so they did not want to take me off of Zyprasidone for whatever reason. This psychiatric doctor came in. He had to come and reintroduce himself because I thought he was, my doctor for the day. And so my other doctor was like, I'm your doctor for the week, I'm here, So she made him come back in and introduce himself. I'm flighting at this point because of the adrenaline, having a stroke, trying to talk, making sure because seeing where I'm at. At this point, my whole dominant side was paralyzed, and I have PTSD. Zyprasidone, doxepine was making me have and being off of Vraylar was making me start developing this akathisia. So I'm paralyzed in the bed, having akathisia, mania,
Yep.
psychosis, you name it. I'm in a room that has no scenery at all. So it's, fall. So, that, and then dealing with that for 3 weeks. So,
You stayed in the hospital for those 3 full weeks?
yeah.
Wow.
No, I only got to go outside once because I had nobody to, or I thought I could go around the nurses' station.
My God.
But the nurses wouldn't let me go around to practice, or at least get fresh air.
Wow.
I had to wait a week. So for me to be in PT, to be authorized to go out or do anything downstairs, I'm in this, hospital that I don't know much about, and what I can do. And so I was stuck in a room for a week, and then PT, and then for 2 weeks. So, and then I'm like, I need an arm sling. because paralysis, it will affect your bicipital tendon and will basically dislocate it. If, my arm, if I was a heavier, fluffier person, my shoulder would dislocate. So I'm having a friend, she bought me a monkey, and I'm tying this monkey to,
This is in the hospital?
yeah, they said that they did not have an arm sling. They did not provide me with, I had contractures on my hand. They don't provide that. And I'm like, what?
So what do they provide? Because it sounds like all they do is provide a death sentence.
Yeah, and I'm a medical massage therapist who has worked with physical therapists, and you're telling me that they don't provide this equipment. So I'm like, I'm gonna try to prevent me from having subluxation, dislocation of my shoulder, which I'm still having issues with, like fastening because I'm a girl, and I'm using this sock puppet monkey thing that my friend gave me, and I'm like, they didn't even offer a AFO, which is a ankle brace, because my leg is, I didn't care about my ankle at this point. I wanted to save this because I am a medical massage therapist. I need these beautiful things.
That's right.
And I'm doing everything in my power to, and I'm like, so they were refusing me mental health services, claiming that they do not offer the mental health services in the hospital. And so I was told also that I could talk to somebody outside, which is, unethical, and yeah. So I did contact the person outside the hospital. She was like, I can't even do telehealth with you. The computers didn't offer, camera, Zoom, so she couldn't see me. And they were making me literally so busy in physical therapy that they claimed that I had no time, but I still had like 3.5 hours to twiddle my thumbs. So I could really have seen a therapist.
You're asking for help. You're asking for mental help in a hospital.
Yeah.
And the fact that you just can't, that's like, for me, that's just, it's like when you're staying in the hospital for weeks at it, like that should be the bare minimum being offered to you at least.
Yeah. So, and even I'd been seeing a therapist for probably about 3 years. Back in 2021 is when I finally found a therapist that I liked, but I was paying him out of pocket. But even that therapist was like, I can't even see you. Why aren't you getting, psychiatric help at the hospital? Insurance is not going to pay for somebody seeing a therapist outpatient and in the hospital for inpatient. So a lot of corruption, a lot of stuff going on. So then,
And just to be clear, so the stroke, like it seems like it's related to you coming off of these drugs cold turkey. Is that, I just want to make clear, is that what you believe? So yeah, I mean, how could it not be at this point, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead.
Physical therapy was about 2 weeks. Well, at the same time, I lost my apartment because I couldn't pay because I was, trying to run a new business, fell. And so that's a factor into all this. And so if I'm not working, I'm not making any money, and lost my apartment. If anybody needs to know, you have in the state of Indiana, you have 10 days to make your monthly payment. So if anybody needs to know that. And I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Then, so that factors in. They diagnosed me or misdiagnosed me with conversion disorder, which is outdated. So losing my apartment and conversion disorder got me denied for more physical therapy. And then when I got discharged, I didn't know about this diagnosis until I got discharged. Nobody really, oh, we think it's this, we think it's that. There was no spinal tap, which I was expecting based on our family had another person that had kind of the paralysis after having flu, autoimmune issues. So I'm thinking, okay, spinal tap.
So just to make sure, did you at that time connect it to the psych drugs at that time, or you're just...
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe it's the Vraylar. And then I was like, okay, it's the combination of the fall, Vraylar, then ziprasidone and doxepine.
My goodness, yeah.
So, and I was literally begging for psychiatric therapy help. I was expecting them to maybe taper me off at least. Hell, they could have.
When you went to the fake hospital, the psych ward, that's what you were expecting.
No, when I got transferred to the.
Oh, okay, that's what you were expecting from that. Okay, got it.
I was like, you would expect. You had those incidents at the fake hospital. Let's taper you off, or at least, like in today's world, we're just gonna withdraw you off and cold turkey you off all this.
I can't even believe this.
Yeah, and what makes it sad too is that when I tried to contact legal advice for Social Security and just to talk about this and see if it was the case, I'm not on a vent, or I'm not, I haven't, passed away because of it. So let that sink in. You tell a patient or, somebody that's gone through this, that your case is not even worth looking into. And I have sent letters and letters and letters, and having this, I want to sleep all day. Anything that I do, I have to pace myself, and it causes not only mental but physical exertion, causes seizures. And I'm at the point where I just like, okay, the 2-year statutes of limitation are over. I just need to just suck it up and learn to put it behind me, which is very, very difficult. But I'm like, at the same time, I don't want to suppress it and flare later down the line.
That's right.
So that's why I'm doing all the things to, let people be aware, and I want the stigma and all that to stop. Um, so, so then they nonchalantly sat me down the day before discharged, and at this point, I being an entrepreneur, I knew everybody in my town, and so I was like, worst case scenario, go to a homeless shelter, and they've got a wonderful little respite area where I can, figure out what I need to do, and they would help me take the next steps to, new housing or have some type of connections. So they approved it, thank goodness, because they were coming back to me saying, well, you got denied because you lost your housing, and then you can't go to a 30-day rehab because little did we know that they were using an outdated terminology, um, conversion disorder, which was getting us denied for more rehab. Then I couldn't go to a group home, because, and a nursing, assisted living facility, because conversion disorder, and I also now have psychiatric issues. So they put me in the back of the transport van and strap me down, and I'm still manic, still like my mind's racing because I'm still on Zyprasidone, and I should have, and I could have just been like, hide the pills and slowly like break them apart, but you have these nurses, oh, good girl, you take all your medicine, and all these manipulations too. So um so it was a mess. And then I get to this homeless shelter, and I'm just like overwhelmed because they have this private unit area specific for, people that are elderly and um, like me, that is just coming out of the hospital, don't know where to go, and it's really quiet. But then come to lunchtime and dinner time, you're dealing with everybody in your town that is dealing with, homelessness. So it was very, very overwhelming.
This is during COVID as well, right?
Um, I think it was just a spike in our town too. So, uh, um, so then I had to follow up with my doctor, who last minute he needed to had an emergency or whatever. So he dumped me on his colleague, and so she Googled conversion disorder. Well, conversion disorder has the misconception that it's all psychological trauma. And I was on Zyprasidone, really erratic, grandiose, up and down. Back to the rehab hospital. They also they gave me chaplains to talk to, which I was like, I'm not really that religious. This really needs to be a professional licensed therapist to listen to me. So yeah, I didn't really agree with that. And even the chaplain was like, you really, really, really need somebody who's a professional, and here's some names. And so I kind of backtracked on that. Um, so back to the doctor. She was like, I don't know where to send you. And I don't know of any but this psychiatric hospital that I had already been to. So she put a involuntary admittance to back to the hospital. And that's when I got to experience 2 weeks, not the typical 7 to 10 days. The doctor clearly did not read any of my medical history over the time. I did not see this doctor in person. It was all telehealth. Then he prescribed Topamax, not for typical migraines or seizures. At this point, I was not having any type of seizure activity for the 3 weeks that I was in the rehab hospital. Then after 20 minutes of taking Topamax is when I started having these grand mal. I'm on the floor.
Wow.
Fish under the water, as I call it. But what's just interesting is I'm aware. I can't communicate. Can't talk. And on the floor, flailing around, you would think, oh, this Topamax is not working out 20 minutes of taking it. We're going to just, shoot that out the water. But they made me, not forcibly, but they made me take this medication for 2 more days.
I can't
And
imagine.
that's when the gaslighting, and I just got my medical records from this hospital. He stated that my paralysis and seizures were, malingering, and which is where the conversion disorder misconceptions come into play. They were using those misconceptions. And they were like taking away my walker and putting me in bed after I would have an episode, and taking the walker and putting it in different places, and the wheelchair. And then they would use that against me to try to encourage me to start automatically walking. It wasn't it wasn't hours before going back to this hospital where I was experiencing these stroke paralysis again. So I only got one shower for the 14 days that I was there. I was having to urinate and not so much defecate on the floor, but urinating on the floor in my bed, claiming that, I was fine coming in when I got admitted, which I'm like, I just started having this paralysis stroke-like episode. The stress is going to layer my symptoms. So you would think I 3 days of seizures. And then about when they discharged, they were like, well, you're going to have to ambulate from the unit to the discharge car vehicle that was going to take me either, they wouldn't even tell me where I was going to go. I was like, I would rather go to my sister's or back to the homeless shelter. I kind of knew that they would help me. And nobody actually really knew where I was at either, which makes it frustrating too. Like all the patients would have to wheelchair me around the hospital. Like you would think, oh, we've got this patient that can't really ambulate. Let's make a plan. I was like, hey, if you see the light on, I'm going to need to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Even like the thought of, hey, here's a portable doorbell button.
Yeah.
If you ever need anything, ring that and one of the nurses will come and help you.
It's so crazy. I know I have to be a bit conscious of time, so I just want to mention that. And you definitely, and I'm sure there's so much to share, but I do have to start wrapping this up. But I want to make sure that you get to share, like I'm sure there's obviously a lot more to this, right? And then
To be continued.
To be continued type of thing for sure. I would love for our listeners to hear like where you are today and like if there's any message you would like to share with them.
Absolutely. I am planning to, in the future, doesn't matter how long it takes me, need the love and support. I plan to go back into massage therapy. I'm currently working on something called PODS project. It's going to be a facility where you can go, and whether you had a concussion, traumatic brain injury, FND, whatever disability, and you kind of relearn post-trauma, how to live independently and find your autonomy. And so I've got that in the works. I'm currently studying my brain cells, which is interesting because it's causing a lot of migraines, real estate. So I'm doing that and just trying to find my independence and autonomy and new autonomy and independence, because that created a new person. And also, if you are interested in signing a petition to make changes in the psychiatry, I know we can't like eliminate it because I understand, through trauma and PTSD and suicide awareness, the impact it can have. So go to change.org. It's called the Trueb Act petition.
I will also put it in the description. So
yeah, would love for y'all to sign it. It's talks about protocols, how we need to change and add at least genetic testing to be part of the protocol. I think it could save a lot of lives, and no more of this wishy-washy throwing medications, because this shouldn't happen.
that's right.
So, and if you're interested, go down to the links. I'm sure you put my link down to my YouTube.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I will put all your links to like your social media. So if it's like a TikTok or YouTube, whatever the links are, they'll be able to find you there. Is it YouTube that you're specifically on? Like what social media platform?
YouTube. I try it all to reach as many people as I can.
Totally. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Sarah, it was so great, and I'm so sorry for your journey. You have certainly been a victim of our medical system, and I'm so sorry how that all played out. Obviously, you've transmuted your suffering in so many ways, and so I'm sure the community is so grateful for like any type of advocacy you're doing. So thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll speak again.
Alrighty.
All right.
Have a good day.